Hello, my name is Ellen Doherty, and on behalf of the Call IS, I'd like to welcome you to the Mobile Apps for Education. Today, this is going to probably be one of the best workshops you've ever attended. We use ingenuity, and I've got to tell you, I want you, before we get started, to help me give a round of applause to James up here. He has been working for the past 2 hours trying to create a space where people can take their mobile devices and actually show you what they're doing, because the Wi-Fi does not work with the app that we used last year. So the man's ingenious, and we really appreciate it. So without further ado, let me tell you how this is going to happen. We have 8 people, or actually we have 7 people presenting on 8 different apps. They each have 8 minutes to speak on the presentation, 2 minutes then on questions, then we move to another. So a little like speed dating, it moves really fast, and it's just great. You get a lot of good information. You all have access to the QR code, and Audra, want to raise your hand? She's got the QR code. If you don't have one, maybe we'll give somebody else another job. Tom, you want to give out that QR code? And if I can thank both Audra and Tom, they're the ones that put this all together. They've been doing it for a while, so many thanks to them. And if you access this QR code or the website, the presentation tools and all the details, including emails for these people, are there, so you can ask them those questions afterwards. So without further ado, let's get started. And we have Angel Pablico Kobasia, and she's going to speak about Heads Up.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Angel Pablico Kobayashi, and I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm an ESL instructor at the English language program at Cal State LA. And today I'm going to talk about this popular game app called Heads Up. Many of you have probably seen this before. This is very popular. It was first created by Ellen DeGeneres. She usually plays this game in her show with a celebrity. And usually the celebrity holds up a big card with a word on it. And then Ellen sits across from the celebrity and gives clues, and so that the celebrity can guess what the word is. So it's really a fun game, and it was so popular that Warner Brothers developed it into a smartphone app game. And so now I often see kids, teens, and even some of my friends play this game in parties and social settings. And so one day I just had this idea, well, why not play it in my ESL class? So I did. But when I tried it the first time, my students complained about it and said, "Teacher, this game is so difficult." And then I noticed that they couldn't get a lot of the answers right. So I noticed that the categories, the ones that are free, the available categories, those are the ones in the middle right there. So for example, movies, superstar, most of these categories are really all about American culture. And my students weren't really familiar with these topics or categories, and so that's why they couldn't guess a lot of the answers. And so the first time I played this game, it was kind of a disaster. It wasn't successful at all. But then later, I discovered that there is this option called Build Your Own Deck, the one you see on the very right corner there. Basically, with this option, you can create your own vocabulary list, and you can use the words from your lessons. So now, I will show you step by step how to customize this game so that you can use it in your class, and I will explain how I play this with my students, and it can be a really fun and effective classroom activity for your classes. So the first step is to download the newest version of Heads Up from the App Store. I know it's available for iPhone or iPad. I'm not sure about Samsung or other smartphones, but you can always check. It costs 99 cents to download it into your phone. Once it's in your phone, just browse from the list of categories, but you want to scroll all the way down to see that category Build Your Own App. So if you want to create your own vocabulary list, you do have to purchase a blank deck. and that costs another 99 cents. However, if you want to avoid paying more, all you have to do is keep customizing the one blank deck that you have. So for example, after I used one vocabulary list, I just delete those words and they add a new list. So you can always reuse it, basically. So once you've purchased the customizable deck, it will move into the playable deck area along with the other free categories. You just click on it and press Customize. There's that button, Customize. And then you want to label your deck by typing in a title in the top gray area. So for example, my title is Listening Speaking 4, which is the class that I currently teach. And then you can add a subtitle in the blue middle box, or the middle blue box. And for example, here my subtitle is Vocabulary Review Units 1 to 3. Once you've labeled your deck, just click Edit Your Cards. When you click Edit Your Cards, that will allow you to enter your list, your word list. To add your own words, just touch Add New Cards and swipe up, okay? So sometimes it can be tricky swiping up, but just swipe up. And then you can enter your word, you can type in your word in the blue box. Now, just a quick tip. You can actually enter as many words as you wish in a deck. In fact, at one point, I was able to enter up to 80 words. So I don't think there's a limit with, how many words you can put in a deck. Now, if you want to delete a word, just touch the word that you want to remove and swipe to the left in a cross-out motion. You can also see the number of words you have in the top blue circle. So for example, here I have 10 words. Okay, so when you're done, just touch the white line at the very top and then pull down and then click Done to save your list. And now you're ready to play Heads Up. Okay, so now I will talk about how I play this game in my class. So the first thing I do is I divide my class into 2 teams. And then we flip a coin to decide which group will go first. And then each team chooses a student to hold up the iPhone or iPad and get 60 seconds to guess as many words as possible. When you have a bigger class, iPad is better because the word can appear bigger and everybody can see. But with the phone, sometimes they can't see the word, especially if you have a big card. So now, if the student doesn't know the word or cannot guess from the clues given by his or her teammates, he or she can just flip the device up, pointing to the ceiling, and that means pass. And if the student gets it right, he or she just flips the device down, and it shows the correct with a sound. Usually there's a bell, which means correct. When the time is up, after 60 seconds, the buzzer will go off, and the screen will show them all of the words from the list they got right and which they got wrong. So you just repeat the same steps, 1 to 4, for the opposing team, and you just go back and forth, and you just keep rotating until each student in the team gets a turn, or until you just run out of words. So that's how you play What's Up. Oh, Heads Up. Did I just say What's Up? Okay, Heads Up. It's confusing. Okay, so Heads Up can be a really fun way to review your vocabulary from all your lessons. And what's most important is it can get the students excited and talking, and they can practice their listening, speaking skills. And one more thing before I end my presentation is there's this feature called video recording. So before you start the 60 seconds, you can choose that option where it records the group of students who are giving the clues. And it's really fun. After the round is over or the buzzer goes up, you can push the playback button, and that will show them their own, they can watch their own video, and they usually laugh at themselves, and they make fun of each other because some of them get so into it, and they're so expressive, so it's really fun. Thank you for listening to Heads Up. And if you have any questions, now's the time.
So I'll take two questions, real quick questions, and it's a little like speed dating. If you don't get your answer, please contact her.
I think you described the teacher has the app on the teacher's iPad. If I want to do this as a pair activity so that each pair has it, do students have to pay and download the app, or can I set it up so that they can use it without buying it?
They do have to pay, so that's why I use it as a class activity, and I think it's more fun as a class than a pair because when you especially when you do the video recording, there's a lot of them captured in the video, and it's really fun to watch the playback. But if it's just one person giving the clue, it's not as fun, I think.
Second question? Okay, then what we'll do is thank you very much, Angel. That was fantastic. Really appreciate it. And what we'll do now is we'll move on to Sally, and Sally's going to be speaking about the Stitcher app. The Stitcher app.
Is it this?
Right, and I don't know if the lasers work.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Sally Thielen, and I teach at Western Michigan University, and I'm going to be talking about using the Stitcher app for extensive listening. So first of all, what is Stitcher? It is what is called a podcast aggregator. Of course, when I tell my students that, they look at me like I'm bananas. A podcast, if you don't know, is a digital audio file, kind of like an online radio show. And an aggregator is just a fancy word for a website that collects related links. I usually tell my students it's like Netflix, but for audio programs, and that they understand. Stitcher is free to use. There's, of course, a premium service that makes it so you don't have to listen to ads, but I use the free service and it's fine. What I like is that it's available as both a downloadable app on your device, as well as it does have a website interface for those students who either don't have a device or would just prefer to use their computer. There's over 40,000 shows, and there's also a number of other similar apps that you could use, like Podcast Addict, etc. So first of all, what can you do with Stitcher? Of course, you can use it to listen to podcast episodes, and there are a lot of really great ESL podcasts on there, and I'll give you a list of those later. You can browse thousands of channels and shows. You can search for different shows, and I'll show you how to do that as well. You can create a favorites playlist to keep track of all the shows that you like to listen to. You can get recommendations for similar shows. And the one thing that I like, as well as my students like, is that you can download the shows that you want to listen to your device so you can listen to them when you're offline. Okay, so how to use Stitcher. I want to toggle over to my cell phone if possible. Can I do that? What's that?
And just an FYI, all these presentations are on the TESOL mobile site, so you can look at them at the TESOL mobile site.
Okay, so if you just take a look at my screen, you're of course going to want to download Stitcher to your device. It's available on iTunes as well as Google Play. When you open it up, if it opens up, you're going to see there's a number of ways to log in, either Facebook or Google. The first time you log in, it's going to ask you about some preferences, and then it's going to take you to a front page, just kind of like your Facebook wall. And then you can search for shows by clicking on the search icon. So you're going to search for ESL shows. And you can see there's a whole bunch of different ESL shows available, including some questionable ones, like slang, etc. So you can click on one. And then just to play the episode, all you have to do, you can see all the episodes here. You can click on one of the episodes, click play. Can't really hear it. And then you can save it to your device by clicking Save Episode. You can also add this to your favorites by clicking on the plus sign here. And then when you go back to your home page and click on My Stations, that's where you're going to see your favorites. And you can also categorize your favorites. So if you have like ESL ones or whatever, you can add a category. Oh. And then you can see if you click on saved episodes, you can see all of your episodes that are downloaded to your device. So let's go back to my PowerPoint. Ooh. Okay, if you didn't catch all that, there is a screencast video on my PowerPoint. So just to talk a little bit about how I've used the Stitcher app in my classroom, I use it a lot, pretty much every week for podcast listening logs. It's super easy homework. I teach academic English, and the students aren't so interested in academic English. They want to know about idioms. They want to know about slang, and I can't teach this. So this is a great way for them to have homework, and a lot of the podcasts are about idioms, about slang, about like more colloquial English. So every week, I'll give them a show, like All Ears English. They can pick any episode they want, and then they just have to listen to it, and they have to complete a log. And the log is basically a summary, and then a list of vocabulary or other things they learned, and then their opinion. I do this as a written assignment because I'm lazy and it's really easy to grade. But if you want to focus on their speaking skills, they could also easily do this as a speaking assignment. Another way to do it would be to have a discussion group, kind of like a reading group. They would all listen to the same episode and then talk about that in class or outside of class. And then another project that I have done, is a podcast project. So if you listen to a lot of these ESL podcasts, you'll notice that they kind of have a format. It's usually two people talking, and they're using idioms in context, and then they explain the idioms or the grammar or whatever language point they're discussing. So I've had the students listen to a couple of different episodes, kind of get the feel of it, and then they create their own script that uses idioms or language that you're studying in the classroom, and then they can record that and upload it to a podcast hosting site like Podomatic. And they really enjoy that as well. It's like they're actually doing the activity. So that's been pretty fun. So here's a list of different podcasts that I've had my students listen to. Like I said, usually every week I give them a different show, and they can pick any episode they want. It's a really great way for them to introduce themselves to a lot of different self-study things that they can use outside of the classroom. And usually each student will have a different podcast that they really like. Like some people will love All Ears and some people hate it, but then they'll like the BBC one. So it's good for them to get exposure to all the different ones so that they know what they can use later. And then you can find all my materials, including this presentation and my example podcast logs at that website. Thank you.
Any questions for Sally on Stitcher? You can take about 2 or 3. Again, if you're new to the presentation, on that QR code you can find their details and you can email them.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I'm wondering, in all the podcasts that you've interacted with, are there any that you can name that have unscripted, that are unscripted as far as podcasts, or are they pretty much all text-based?
What do you mean by?
In other words, is there unscripted language?
Not so much with the ones that are on the Stitcher app. Those tend to be a bit more scripted. I mean, I actually don't listen to all of them, but it tends to be, they have a script that they're following, but they do go off script every once in a while. There's a few online that are not on the Stitcher app that are a little bit more unscripted, but yeah, it tends to follow a script.
Any other questions? No? Then thank you so much, Sally.
Okay, thank you.
And your presentation on Stitcher. We're moving along to Ali Flippo, Tricia Dowling, Katie Wyant, all from University of Michigan or Eastern Michigan University, and they're going to be speaking about calm.
Good afternoon. Before we begin, I would just like to ask if anybody feels overwhelmed or inundated with information at this point in the conference. Good. Today we're going to have a little bit of a mindfulness activity at the end of our session, so hopefully that will relieve some of the stress and the pressure and the anxiety that you're feeling. So we're going to get started. My name is Allie Peepo, and I'm with Eastern Michigan University, and this is
Trisha Dowling. I'm at multiple universities in Michigan.
And then our coworker, or our colleague also, Katie Wayant, who couldn't be here today, but she also worked on and developed this project with us. So over last summer, we started reading this book, Happy Teachers Change the World, and we were hoping that it would inspire us to be happier, obviously. But we basically delved into this kind of mindfulness practice. And so what we found is that through the book, we found out that mindfulness was a technique for dealing with anxiety, with stress, with pressure. And when we looked at our students, we thought about the stressors that our students face, the anxiety that they face, the pressures that they're under. And so just to review some of those stressors, students in general have to navigate intense academic demands. They have to negotiate a new academic setting if they're coming from high school to university. They're developing new social connections as they build a new social life at a university. But our international students face these additional stressors: using English for academic purposes, navigating an unfamiliar academic culture, dealing with homesickness, lack of social support, culture shock, managing microaggressions and discrimination, experiencing stigma, lack of understanding of their own adjustment reactions of what's happening to them. And what we found was that these challenges can be additive and interactive. Concerns associated with the pressure to succeed academically could be exacerbated by the stress of adjusting to an unfamiliar host culture, and vice versa. So having all of these stressors adding and creating extra stress was really creating this situation with our students where they'd get to about just about midterms, and then they'd start not doing their homework, not coming to class, and they were stressed out. And we were looking for ways that we could really help them. Some of the effects that we saw were anxiety, depression, and burnout. They didn't want to study. All of these things were just contributing to their inability to really contribute in class.
I think it's also important to mention that anxiety, depression, and burnout are not only for students, but also instructors at certain points in the semester. So it's just keep that in mind. This is also beneficial for you as an instructor. But mindfulness and mindful learning, mindfulness is a flexible state of mind. So you become actively engaged in the present. You notice new things. You're sensitive to context. So this is really great for language learning, right? So you are more focused. You're more aware of maybe vocabulary or idioms or your pronunciation because you're in the moment. There's so many distractions that kind of getting grounded is really useful in a classroom. And mindful learning is openness to novelty, alertness to distinction, context sensitivity, multiple perspectives, and present orientation. Again, really great in a language classroom. So there are many benefits to mindful learning. You have a decrease in accidents, better memory, which of course is really useful for us, less stress, and increased health and longevity. You have a community of learners, so when you're doing this kind of activity together, you just feel more connected to one another. So it's creating this nice atmosphere in your classroom. You understand each other better, which is really useful in a diverse classroom. Like Allie said, lots of depression and anxiety when you're in another country. So all of these things are really wonderful for our students. And if you go to any grocery store, supermarket, you're going to see that this is a big trend right now. So why not do it in your classroom?
So we're going to demonstrate now this app. The app that we chose is called Calm. There are many mindfulness apps on the market right now, but we chose Calm just because it looks kind of peaceful, as you'll see when you open up. I'm not sure if it'll rotate. Yeah, there we go. When you open up the app, it has this lovely mountain scene. It's very just calming and exciting. Let me get some sound going here. All right. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. I will, yeah. Yep. So we'd just like to do a little bit of a quick mindfulness activity with you right now. I can get back there. Yeah. Nope, I can't. There we go. There we go. So this is day one, the benefits of mindfulness, or the basics of mindfulness. So if you just get into a comfortable position in your chair there, we're going to just do a little 3-minute mindfulness exercise right now. Yeah, I got it. And actually, it's not working. What is that thing? I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe
I don't know if the screencast, I think maybe the screencast has the sound. Yeah, is it turned all the way up? Or, oh, I see, it's just coming through your speakers. Well, let's do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the screen for a moment, just so you can hear what it sounds like, hopefully. There we go.
7 Days of Calm, a free mindfulness program designed to bring more calm, clarity, and joy into your life. For our first practice, we'll do a breathing meditation to concentrate the mind. Find a quiet place to sit where you won't be disturbed. Sit with a straight back on a cushion or chair in a position that feels comfortable, and close your eyes. Let your body rest easily and breathe gently. As you allow your body to become still, become aware of your breath as it comes into your body and as it leaves your body. Keep the rhythm of your breathing natural, not trying to change it in any way, just being aware of it. You'll find from time to time, your mind will wander off into worries, distractions, or thoughts of the past or future. When you notice you're no longer focused on your breathing, without holding any judgment, gently bring your focus back to the breath. Allow your thoughts to appear, then let them float away like clouds crossing the sky. Just keep returning to the breath over and over.
Slowly open your eyes.
So if you can come back just a little bit. I did think we created a little nature session there. So we do have some ways to use calm, but right now it is our question time. So if you have any questions for us, that'd be great.
Oh, wait, we've got tons. We'll just limit it to 2. And I'm sorry, this lady was waving her hand. And if you remember, if you have questions, you can contact them on their email.
Hi. So my question is about the language that's used in the app.
Sure.
Like, because I'm guessing this is something you would use in any level. Do you ever have to pre-teach anything or explain anything? I mean, I know most of it's self-explanatory, but like without any judgment.
Sure. No, I've definitely done a vocabulary before going through the mindfulness activity where I just pull out the vocabulary that's used in the app, especially for lower level classes. I've included this as a mindfulness kind of unit in our class, and we talk about the benefits and why it's good for them and how they can develop their own kind of mindfulness practice.
And although we are talking about this one particular app, there's also an app called Insight Timer, which has multiple languages and so many thousands of activities. So I think it's good to try other things that may work well for you.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask you, how do you get student buy-in with students who think this might be hokey or a waste of class time or might have religious objections?
Sure. You know what we found is I was the skeptic when we started this project. Actually, my husband is a social worker, and he would talk about mindfulness all the time, and I would be like, psh, whatever. And then we started doing this, and I tried it, and I found the benefits for myself, and I saw the benefits that it had for students, and that's why I said we did include it as part of our curriculum for a speaking and listening class, and we talked about the benefits and things like that first. Some students buy in, some students don't. A lot of students, especially those from Eastern cultures, don't have a lot of the same hang-ups. So that was something that kind of surprised me when we started doing it. I'd be like, have any of you done this before? And they would be like, oh yeah, totally. So, I mean, I don't think that many students do not have the same hang-ups that American students might have about it.
So we're going to close the questions. I'm sure you have more, and you can contact them again at their email, which is at the QR site, or use the QR to go to the website. Thank you so much. Would you help me give a round of applause? Thank you very much.
Switch over.
And now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to another presentation. Michael Ropicki from Universidad de los Andes in Colombia. He's going to be doing a presentation on Kahoot. So get out your phones or your mobile devices. He's going to ask you to actively participate in his presentation.
No, I'm still showing. Is this on? Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Ropicki. I'm an assistant lecturer at the University of Los Andes in Bogota. I'm going to be presenting Kahoot for pronunciation, and of course with technical difficulties. It's a good thing we did a little mindfulness right before this. What I'd like for everybody to do, if you have your devices out, please go ahead and scan the QR code now, because I'm going to be asking you to play along with this, okay? So that's going to be happening in just a few minutes, but it's going to take just a little while for you to get it loaded. So if you scan the QR code or go to kahoot.it, we'll be ready to go. Okay, just a little bit of context. This started because I teach an intermediate speaking and pronunciation course at the university. We cover the basics of the sound system. We cover IPA symbols just so that the students have some amount of autonomy and can use a dictionary or other resources to be able to look up the pronunciation of words. Cover syllables, stress, problem segmentals, suffixes. This started out as a way to confirm that the students were actually looking things up correctly and finding the right symbols and getting the right associations with words. But then it turned into a fast way to use this for just about anything, to review and to go back over things and just double check to see where students are. And it's also great as a warm-up. So if you don't know about Kahoot, it's a free mobile and web platform for doing educational games. It's available for both on a website where you can create, where you can present, where you can play. Also iOS and Android where you can play, so your students can use their devices in class. There are 3 different sites. The main site for creating is create.kahoot.it, and the one for your students to play is kahoot.it. Okay? So you need an account to create, but your students don't need an account to play, so that makes it super easy. You project from your computer, which I'm going to show you now, and then you play from your students play from their devices, which is what I'm hoping all of you are going to do with me in just a minute. You've got lots of different question types that you can use, but I'm going to be showing you multiple choice. The time intervals go from 5 seconds to 2 minutes. You can play individually, you can play in teams, you can do this as homework, and you can also add video and images. You're able to download the results after you're done. So this is actually one of the things that helps in terms of double checking to see where your students are. Do you need to go over something in a different way, to address it differently? You get an automatic email after you play, but there's also a link where you can download the results. It also allows you to use it as a quiz. So if you put on your student ID or your student username, you've got it ready so that you can check their results. Okay, so the ones that I'm going to show you, we've got symbol recognition practice, extra sound, or syllables and stress, extra sound or extra syllable with ED and S. Which ending is it? So is it voiced, voiceless, or extra syllable? And which word doesn't match, or which word does match? Okay, a couple of things to keep in mind for design. These are things that I sort of discovered as I was using it. There's no reason why you can't repeat a question. If you repeat the question, it means if the student gets something wrong the first time, they can get it right the second time. So you can add the same element into your Kahoot at a later point. You can also sort of speed it up so that they get a little bit more of a challenge the second time through. Okay, are we ready to play? All right. So everybody you're going to go to kahoot.it. A code is going to show up on the screen in just a second when I switch over to the website. There we go. Come on. It doesn't want to go. There we go. Here we go. All right, we're going to go in classic mode. It does give you a lot of game options when you go, but as soon as you see the code, enter it in. There it is, 387-1641. Okay, choose whatever nickname you want. Again, with your students, if you're going to use it as a quiz, you're going to use their student ID, you're going to use their username for the university or the school or whatever it may be. Okay, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started just so that you get a chance to go through a few of them. Okay, this one's checking them on symbols. I can't. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so not a bad result, but I would expect a little better. But we haven't gone over the IPA symbols for everybody today. So okay, so yeah, this is your moment to then talk to your students exactly about what happened, what went wrong, what you expect of them. Okay, let's go for the next one. Nice, much better, much better. Already learning. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Who's ahead? Way is ahead. It assigns arbitrary points as you go, so if your students are competitive, this can be helpful. Notice we're coming back to the same one, but faster this time. Let's see how you do. Excellent. This is exactly what we want. Okay. This one always gets my students. Yeah, you all get it. And they're like, no. Because in Spanish it's 3. Nice, nice, nice. Here we go. This is where it gets a little bit weird because it's 2 words. Okay. Excellent. Then we come back to it. Nice. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and close it out. Okay. All right.
So that was short, sweet. Any questions about Kahoot?
Is there a sound that goes with it, or is it always silent?
There is, and I don't know why the audio wasn't going out, but that's the thing. It's like, it's almost a blessing that I didn't hear it right now because I get so tired of it. Although when you go to the higher speeds, it changes, which I didn't discover until recently. So that's not so bad. But not that I'm aware of.
Can you replace the sound?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. But I'm still digging around to find new things.
How do you use it for homework?
For homework, this is actually a new feature, and so I haven't done it yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a website where everybody can go to take a look at the steps for how to do it and what some of the settings are, and also like how to get the phonetic symbols in there and everything else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's assignments, but I haven't used it yet, unfortunately, and it's fairly new.
The assignments feature allows the students to take it individually, so they don't have to be in a group. And there are actually avatars, AIs that play with them. So there's somebody who's really fast and somebody who's kind of average. And so they think they're competing with other people, but there's nobody else online. And so they're still answering, but it's based on time. And then they would just sign in. They would just sign in, and then as the teacher, you have a record of all the times, who did fastest, who did whatever. Yeah, so it's kind of nice.
Thank you.
So let's give Michael a big round of applause. You can see Kahoot is really a popular one. Thank you so much. Contact Michael if you'd like more information about Kahoot. And our next presenter is going to be Lisa Horvath from Altalandos Iskola in Hungary. She's going to be speaking about Adobe Spark Video. And if you're new again, Mr. Rob, Tom Rob, the man in the back that has the green necklace around his neck, he has a QR code where you can get to the website where all of the people's addresses are, and you can contact them if you do have a question and access the apps that they're using.
Thank you. Adobe Spark is a web-based and iOS application that can be used to put together student presentations or teacher presentations. It's not available yet on Android, but they are planning on it. But that's what they told me 2 years ago when I first started working, so who really knows? It's easy to use, it's free, and here's a brief demo as to how it works. Is there sound? I'll do the sound. So when you open up a free account, and it will bring you to a little tutorial. This is a tutorial. It's showing you the first slide. It works a little bit like Microsoft PowerPoint. Within the slide, you can add text, video, and photos, or an icon. I've never used that feature. You can do voiceovers. You can change the theme, and you can add background music. So that's what it's going to show us here in the tutorial as they go through. Adding video. They're picking out a part of the video. Adding a slide. And the text. Text can be moved around pretty easily. Rearranging your slides. These are the themes. They're limited, but it adds a little variety. Recording the narration. And then you can add background music. When you're done, you can preview it. And after that, you can upload it to the internet, and it will give you a URL. I'm not sure. And the URL can be embedded into a Twitter feed, a Facebook account. The biggest drawback that I have to using this is that it cannot be uploaded to YouTube, but you can put it on your website and make it available to students that way. I teach grades 1 through 3 in Hungary, and I use a story-based method called TPRS. All of my lessons are interacting with the students, and they create a story. So we're going to pretend that we're in grade 3 in Hungary, and we're working on modals. And we'll put a little presentation together. So here's our first slide. We're going to add text. Eric, can you wave your hand to everybody? Eric's going to help us out. I'm going to step away to the keyboard and type in, his name is Eric. Can you come up? Oh, this is great. It's right here. So the first part of it, our story is, his name is Eric. In class, I have, at the end of it, after we create a story, I have the students draw parts of the story, or I can go back and add pictures. So here I can add either a picture or video. If I add a photo, I can embed one that I've already uploaded, or I can go to Adobe Spark and get one. So we're going to type in a man, try to find a guy that looks like Eric. His name is Eric. Hey, Eric, if you could be an animal, what animal would you be? A wolf. Great answer. Eric would be a wolf. Eric would be a wolf. And we'll add a picture of a wolf. Eric would be a wolf. Here's Eric reincarnated. Eric, if you were a wolf, what would you eat? It doesn't have to be wolfish. Apples. Perfect. He can eat apples. Eric would eat. We need to add a text box. Eric would eat apples. And we could find a picture of an apple. And so on and so forth. We're not going to go too far. Are you sure you don't want to eat carrots, Eric?
Maybe deer.
Maybe deer? We could put Teresa in it. Teresa, oh, I need to add a slide.
Eric would eat Teresa?
Eric would eat Teresa while Teresa's eating apples. How much time do I have? 5. Okay, then we can make our story a little bit longer. So Eric would eat Teresa. Did I spell your name right, Teresa?
No, 1 S.
Okay. Eric would eat Teresa. And Teresa, what would you do if Eric tried to eat you?
I would try to jump out of him.
You would jump out of him?
Yeah.
So he's eaten you, you're
yeah,
in the
he's
stomach,
bitten
and
me,
you
I'm
would try
inside,
to
I'm
eat out.
going to try to get him to gorge me out.
Okay, does it work? Do you get out?
Yes, I escape successfully.
Teresa escapes. And I would have students draw pictures of all this. And then after we've done this, I can put this together fairly quickly. And again, it's free. It's really easy to use. And I walk around with an iPad, and I just push my finger on the little record button, and the students will say the text. Teresa escapes, and so on and so forth. I can show you an example from my class. So once this is put together, I can change the theme. We can make it a little more exciting, add some flair. The layout basically changes where the text appears. You can split the screen, which is going to be more applicable to something like this. And then add background music. They have lots of fun horror movie musics, which probably won't play. So we'll watch our movie. His name is Eric. It's going to be too slow. When you've put together your presentation, or when your students have finished putting it together, it's easy to download. Oh, there it goes. Eric would be a wolf. Eric would eat apples, and Eric would eat Teresa. Teresa escapes. Teresa would escape. And that's how I use Adobe Video. Are there any questions?
Can you just snap a picture? You said you have your students draw pictures, so you just snap the picture and upload the picture for that way?
Yeah, when they draw it, I just take a photo of their picture. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Lisa, how long can you make the videos?
That's a very good question. I've made a 3-minute video, and it slows down quite a bit at that point. Each slide can be a maximum of 10 seconds. So if I can go back to the editing, let's see if, right down here, there's the seconds here. I click on the seconds, and I can move it to a maximum of 10 seconds for each slide.
Can you record a narration?
What do you mean by
I mean, could they record that and have that added to this as a...
So they would record it somewhere else ahead of time and add it, like uploading audio?
Yeah, narrate it out.
Well, you can narrate it by just pushing on the record button and recording it right there. And you can upload a video file, but you can upload music. You could probably upload an audio file if you can upload music. So yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yep.
This is just add on to that previous question. Would the narration go over the background music?
Yes, and you can adjust the volume of the voice and you can decrease the volume of the background music. Eric is asking for an example for my students, but I don't think the audio will work. Can you?
And while they're bringing that up, if you're finished with your QR code, could you bring your QR code to this man, Mr. Roth? He'll give them out to other people. You don't need it once you've accessed it. If you don't mind sharing it. Yeah.
So it's not going to work anyway?
It's fun, isn't it?
There's Eric.
So you guys are...
So this is the student example. Do we have time for this? 1 minute? Okay. Where's the sound coming from?
Princess. Her name is Cynthia. Cynthia goes to the ocean. She sees a shark, an octopus, and a magic starfish. Cynthia kisses the starfish. It turns into a beautiful girl. Cynthia goes to the city. Ricky drives easily now. He sees Cynthia and says, "Ooh la la." Ricky kisses Cynthia. She turns into a frog.
Would you help me give a big round of applause to Lisa?
Thank you.
Lisa and her talk on Adobe Spark. Our next two presenters are going to be speaking about Snapchat, and we have Judy Hugh and Vera Figuera from the University of California, Irvine. So let's give them a big round of applause.
So hi, my name is Vera Figuera, and I work at UCI, University of California in Irvine. And this is Judy, and she works with me. So now we're going to explain why we started using Snapchat and a little bit of background information and how to use it. In my situation, I started using Snapchat because I noticed that during break time, my students would be giggling and sharing with each other photos and videos, and I started getting really curious about it. So I decided, to ask them what they were doing. So they told me that they were using this app called Snapchat. And actually, it is one of the fastest growing social apps. I'm sure you've heard about it from, maybe kids and young adults. As you can see here, there are almost 200 million daily users, and a lot of them are from the United States, but there are also many from the Middle East. And we have a lot of students from the Middle East, so they're the ones that showed me how to use Snapchat, when I first started using it. As you can see, the age range, there are many, many young people that use it, and 75% is actually under the age of 30, about 75%. So it is really popular among young adults. And now Judy's going to talk about the appeal of Snapchat, why it's so popular.
So something that the users really like is how ephemeral it is. So the snaps, I mean, the posts are about 10 seconds long. That's the maximum. And whether you look at them or not, they're going to disappear within 24 hours. And I think this appeals to the fast pace of life and making more space for new posts as they come in for the younger generation. Well, and also there are some amazing special effects. They have, Snapchat was like the first app to really use AR lenses, augmented reality lenses, so they could recognize your face and enable you to add animal ears or to distort the shape of your face so you look like a Martian. There are also voice changers, geo-filters. So it can recognize where you are exactly. For example, you can choose from different templates that says Chicago and add it to a picture that you just took. You can also create avatars that represent yourself, with your favorite style, and add it with emojis. So Snapchat actually was released in 2011, and it took off. It just totally took off. And so Instagram actually added the feature, many similar features, exactly the same features, in fact, in 2016. So same thing, 10-second videos that disappear within 24 hours. So now Instagram is gaining popularity as well, and so people might ask, well, which one should I choose? Of course, it depends on the students that you have, what they're interested in using, and here are also some other things to keep in mind. For caption size, the Snapchat is a little bit smaller, but it's also changing, so that they're increasing the number of the characters they can use, so that it'll be on par with Instagram. Video length is also becoming similar, so 60 seconds as opposed to 10 from before, because you can do consecutive 6 times of these clips. Also, something important to know is that if for class use, you would want to create a group for your class to join in. For Snapchat, the maximum members you can have in a group is 16, and 15 for Instagram stories, so that might make a difference as well.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce terminology so that you can understand our presentation better. A snap means picture or video. And chat is like texting, direct message. And story is a compilation of snaps and chats. Okay, they're all related. And that's what we do in our classes. And the feature memory is like the camera roll inside the app. So they have the option of saving their snaps and chats into the app or on their phones too. And she's going to talk about some of our speaking and listening ideas.
For speaking and listening, it's really great to use the video snaps because you can hear and speak. So some things you can do with it are to have them record themselves in authentic situations, like ordering food in a restaurant or asking for directions. You can ask them a question in a video clip, like asking, what is the most valuable possession that you own? Maybe perhaps even model it by giving a short answer yourself and then ask them for their responses, and they can comment on each other's responses. Or have them make sentences with new vocabulary words, or role play scenes from an article or book that they've been reading.
For reading and writing ideas, of course, you can use more of the photo snaps and encourage them to add captions. So, for example, they can post links from their favorite news articles, or annotate readings, or you can give them a prompt like, what is for a process paragraph, like show us how you do something that you're really good at, or play a vocabulary game.
Yes, and actually I'm going to talk a little bit about a vocabulary game that I've played with my students, in which they had to guess the word. So what I did was, I'm going to show you right now, I taught them some vocabulary words like embarrass, lack, and wish, and I gave them an example. I said, okay, so I'm going to take a picture that represents the word embarrassed, and you guys take out your phones, and I want you to write down, the first person to write down to guess the word correctly will, either win a point, or, you can praise them. So that was the picture that I came up with, and they quickly figured that it was the word embarrassed. And then I asked them to do it themselves in pairs. So they had to create a snap. They had to choose a picture, and they could draw on the picture, and but without the caption, so that the other classmates would guess what the word was. So the two that I gave them was lack and wish. So as you can see, lack would be lack of money, and wish would be I wish I had a car. Okay, so that was really fun, and they got really excited. And I'm going to tell you about some tips that I've used. Oh, okay, I'll wrap it up. Okay, so I just wanted to say that you don't have to be an expert on Snapchat to start using it, because students are the experts many times. And then keep it light and fun, because if it feels too much like school, they're going to stop contributing. And start with an in-class activity, and also give encouraging comments, so that they know that you think their creativity is something to be cherished.
So any questions for Judy or Vera? I can see they've got lots more, but any questions so we can move on to the other ones? No? Okay, why don't you have 2 minutes to just finish it up then, if no questions.
So Snapchat is really easy to use, but there might be a few things that you might want to, you might run into snags with. So here are a few tips. To create a group, you can go to the need to go to the Friends tab in order to create a new group and just add people to it, okay? If you want to edit the group name, for example, change it to like speaking and listening level 12, then you have to also go back to the Friends tab and go to the menu icon, like the little listing, and you can edit it there. It's another feature that they've incorporated is the auto save feature. So you can actually save all of the snaps and use them to, I don't know, make a collection, a collage later on, or to give feedback, maybe grammar feedback when, by writing a few of them out. And also, something that was hard for us anyways in the beginning was knowing how to navigate. So it has a swiping thing. Instead of having a menu, there's swiping. So the home page, when you land, it's like the search camera page, and you got to swipe left or swipe right. And so the order is going to be, from the left to right. It's going to be chat, friends, search, and then discover.
And the hard part about this is you have to cut people off, or the other people don't get a chance. So I'm sorry to do it, but would you give me a round of applause for Judy and Vera and their talk about Snapchat? You can see they're passionate about it. Email them if you have any questions. And our next person is Teresa, and Teresa has several apps that she's going to introduce over a little bit longer period, about a 20-minute period, and she has a story to tell at the same time.
This way? That's good. Okay.
Hello, everyone. So I have 2 time slots. I'll be introducing 2 apps, but unfortunately, one of the apps that my phone got stolen actually, and so I had to re-enter all the apps that I wanted to do. So it's okay, I got a 10, so it's kind of an upgrade. I had to reinstall the app, but the problem with, so the first app that you saw, it would be Tandem, which is here. The only problem is in order to join Tandem, you have to write like a little bio and things. Well, let me explain Tandem. So Tandem is a really great app in terms that it's like a language exchange app. So you put in your bio and say you want to learn Spanish. They will introduce you to someone who speaks Spanish, and together you guys can exchange your language. The only thing is you have to write like a whole bio so they think you're not crazy, right? And then you can join. So because I didn't have time, so I just wrote like 1-word bios, and so they still haven't even accepted me yet to be part of Tandem. So unfortunately, I'm sorry, I couldn't show you, but it will look like that if you see at the bottom. So today I have a better app to show you to make up for it. If you see in the corner, I have something called Overdrive. Do you guys see Overdrive? This has got to be one of my favorite apps in the world. So most of us, we have a public library card, do we? Yes? So Overdrive is awesome in the sense that you can check out books from your local library. And it will come to your phone in PDF and audiobook form. Any book that you want. So currently in my library, I'm reading these 2 books, My Beloved World by one of our court, Nine Supreme Just and Warren Buffett, because I love business. And they're just audiobooks. So how you would do this is you would go to, I'm from Orange County, California. And so I would just input my library card on here and my PIN, and automatically it connects me to the Orange County Public Library in my area. And I would just check out book normally, so I would go to bookshelf here. So Orange County Public Library, you have this here, if their internet is good enough, yeah. And then you put in your search button. Are there any books anybody want to read that I can put in? Suggestions? No?
Harry Potter.
Okay. Harry Potter it is. So I'll just search. And here we go. So it's waitlisted, but you see they have audiobooks. You can place a hold. So audiobooks, so all these books. And you would just click on place a hold, and it would automatically go into your account, and it will free it for you. Now, I always tell my students this at the beginning of the semester, because unfortunately I teach right now at a community college, and so not all my students can afford the textbooks that I teach. So one of the classes I'm teaching at Irvine Valley College is a writing course, so we have a lot of novels, and so not all of them can buy, all those novels in the course, and so I just send them over to Overdrive, and it's really great, and they just have it on their phones, and it's just a great free resource for our students. And the great thing is I always have a recommended list of books for our students that they can read on their own, because a lot of them don't even really know what kind of books to read. So I just give them a list of my, Teresa top 10 books. It's usually business. And then they would go home and search on their own and just read on their own. So this is just a really free, great resource for our students and for us too. I use it all the time. I was listening to it when I was walking here today to the conference. So yes, that will be the second app I recommend. Then I'm moving on to my second app today. It's called, Word Associate. Oh, just joking. Is it in? Okay, great. If you can see Word Association down here. Okay. Has anyone heard of word association? About one? Oh, you're missing out. Okay, word association is absolutely amazing for our English learners. What it does is, let me just give you an example. Let's go play. Of course, all good apps cost money, but this is free for Starter Pack 1 and Starter Pack 2. But trust me, the Starter Packs are enough to last you for the semester. So I will give you an example here. So you can unlock all of these for free. So let's just kind of do level 1. This is how word association looks like. So they have all these words up here. And you have to connect two words and associate them together. And it's great because it's not just opposites, it's not just synonyms, it's not just, so the students really have to think, how are these connected, right? And they will be connected in all different forms. And this is great, especially for TOEFL students, right? During the English analytical parts where they have to do the analyzation. So let's do this together. So let's do avenue. If we click on avenue, what else? What is associated with avenue? Anybody? Street. Okay, I can't even find street on here. Second row? Okay, good. There you go. And it disappears. So say if we get it wrong, let's say halt, and they do physician. Oh no, it doesn't disappear, right? So they keep on going until everything disappears. Let's do run, jog. Yeah, things like that. Now, the great thing about this is, do you see at the top center, there's a timer? Yes. So I know for the free packs, you get about 40 of these activities, but it's plenty because why? I have my students redo them to try to beat their own speed. Because it's not, to me, it's not about going over it once. Sometimes you have to do it multiple times, and it helps them learn how these words are associated. Because if you can see, it can be synonyms, it can be part of something, right? Like a wheel, part of a car. So there's all these different associations that they have to find. How are these words related? And it teaches them on vocabulary building. And so, yes, I let them do it once, but I also make sure that they repeat it. So that they can build their speed and memorize the words that way. And that's it. I thought it would be easier to present it and show it for you so you can kind of see it instead of explaining. So any questions for the two apps?
Hi. It looks like the packages were already defined, but can you build your own?
No. Yes. And so I'll go back. The cool thing with this is that if you see all those locked ones, they cannot go up. The packs don't unlock until you finish that one. And they get progressively more difficult. So that's a great thing. So they can't just play around. So they want to ensure that, hey, you got this right, and then you move on to the next one. And sometimes if you look in the first one already, you got 2 stars. That means you did well, but you didn't do so well, right? Their goal is to try to redo it so that they achieve 3 stars. So that's why I said repeatability for accuracy, for memorization, things like that. It's great. Yes, this is just one. So one level is one of these. So if you notice here, so you already have, so in pack 1, you already have all of these. That's plenty. And then there's also in pack starter 2, there's also another 20. So you have 40 free starter packs already. You don't need to pay money. I don't believe in paying money. I teach at community college. I don't let my students pay anything. And so I think the 40 packs are plenty for the semester. Yes. Any more questions?
I think there's a question over here.
I was just curious, maybe I missed it, but what particular course would you use this in? Because they're random words, they're not necessarily part of your course content. Is it a vocabulary building, writing building? Do you have the students compete? Are there points, assignments?
Sure, this is all supplemental. Yeah, so I definitely use it for something because, and actually, with vocabulary building, it fits all courses, whether you're reading or you're writing. There's no specific way where you have to teach for words. Like I teach words in every single class that I teach. Yeah, and so for me, class time for me is lecture time, things that they can't get on their own. But for me, my teaching philosophy is always independent learners, right? Having them to be autotelic. And so this is great for them in the sense that, hey, finish your packs and then let me see at the end of the semester. So in the end of the semester, they just show me their packs that, hey, look, they've unlocked all the packs, and that's quick and easy. I don't have to filter. I don't spend class time on that. We spend class time just lecturing and doing other activities. Yeah, so extra time. Yeah.
Is it possible to create your own list or words in this?
Oh, yeah, someone asked this. I'm sorry, you cannot for now, and it's already pre-made. Yes. I don't know. I have it on Apple. My friend, she has Android, so I think it should be okay. Yes.
So, any other questions? Can you ask them into the microphone? That way, the web audience, and we have a number of people watching it all over the world. So,
I'm not sure if this was asked already, but how many lists of words are there in each of the starter packs?
Okay, there are 20 in each starter pack. And you get 2 free starter packs, so that means 40 starter packs. I sound like a salesman. Yes.
For the word association game, can you show us what the app looks like on your phone again?
Oh, yes.
We're finding a couple when we search it.
Sure. Is it? Sorry, Mr. Tech. But please don't forget about Overdrive too. Those are the supplemental books that I have them, so reading extensions. There you go. So if you want to go back, there you go, word association at the bottom, and tandem is next to it, and then Overdrive is right at the top. Now you know the secrets of all the apps that I have.
Hi, sorry, regarding Overdrive, I think I just forgot, but did you scan your library card? So students don't need library cards, do they?
So they have a number, a barcode here, like all these words. You just input the words down, the numbers down here. Your library card number. You just input your library card number.
So students need library cards?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think it's a great resource because a lot of our students, like I have some international students who don't even know that we have a public library. They think they have to buy everything. And I'm like, why? It's free if you just show them a gas bill and a driver's license, or something like that. So at least for Orange County, I can only speak for my area. So do we have more questions? No.
Questions? Do you have another app you want to show us? Is that it?
I have a lot, but
why not? Let's go.
No. Well, I was going to say my area is ed tech, so I have a lot of really useful apps. But I have my business card here, so feel free to come ask me after, after the session, and I'll give you one. I actually have a YouTube channel, so if you go to my YouTube channel, it's ESL Garage, and on there I have a video of top 5 apps for students and top 5 websites for students that I think will be super useful because they're absolutely free and they're helpful in reading and writing in all aspects. So feel free to come get one. Thank you so much.
So if there are no further questions, could you give, please, a big round of applause to Teresa Nugent and come up and get your business card. And now we're going to have Judy, who's going to speak about Goose Chase, an interactive scavenger hunt. I also have, can I leave this here? I have handouts for Goose Chase, so I'll be coming around with handouts.
Hi, so my name is Judy, and this is a presentation with my coworker Dana, who is unfortunately not here today, but she is actually the mastermind behind this idea. So last year for an in-service meeting, she wanted to be able to lead the teachers at school into better understanding the campus, where the students would need to go on a daily basis. So places like the immigration office or the dining commons or the activities office. And so she was looking for a way to make this more fun for us. And so she came up with this idea. And so the teachers were put into teams to do this. And we would do things like finding out things like snapping pictures of where to find procedures for emergency drills, or finding the school mascot in someone's office. And we had such a blast that I decided that I wanted to get in on this app. So basically, Goose Chase, the great thing about Goose Chase is that it is very interactive. working with your classmates or your peers the entire time. There are actually several scavenger hunt apps available to people, and so this one has been chosen because it is super user friendly. It is easy to set up, easy for the students to use, and it is available on both platforms, on iOS and on Android, so any student can really easily access it. Another thing we considered was that it's an established company, which means that this app is likely to stay around for a while, and there are a lot of resources already on the app. Like there's a huge game library to pull ideas from. And finally, there is also a free educational version in this particular app for scavenger hunts. So there is also the regular version is actually the business version, and that costs money. But if you have a EDU email address, then you are eligible for the basic free version, which is what I've been using. Now, for the basic version that I've been using, you cannot do individual games, but it doesn't really matter to me because my students really enjoy working in teams. So you can have 5 teams maximum. They're together, they snap pictures together, they walk around together, and they really enjoy doing that together. Once you register, it's really easy. There's really only 3 steps to do. So first, you got to go to the game manager to set up your game. So you can choose your missions, or you can create your own missions. And then you also set like a time limit, how many points you want for each mission, as well as how you want them to submit their information. And then they can play. So when the teams or participants are out there, they're going to fulfill these missions that you've set up in one of 4 ways. One, you might have asked them to snap a picture of it, or they have to do a short 15-second recording of something that they've seen or interacting with someone. You can ask them to put in text information, or you can have them click on the location tracker so you can see that they were physically in that place. These are the 4 options for you to choose from. And then so once they're done, then the game is finished. Once the time limit is done, which can be from like 20 minutes, or it can even go for a week. It's really up to you to decide how long you want this to last. Then you can tally up the scores and see who the winner is. And actually, while they're playing, there's also a live leaderboard, so they can see who is winning ahead at a time. There's also an activity feed, so they can see what people are posting at the same time. But it's not over yet, because of course you have to verify the submissions. So there's all this anticipation. So when you announce it, you can, they're still excited, and also when you're looking at submissions, you could even do a collage of the most interesting ones, and they always get a laugh out of watching themselves at the end of it. Now, there's, like I mentioned earlier, one of the great things about this particular app, the scavenger app, is the game library. The game library is really designed mostly for K through 12, but many of those ideas can also be adapted for university and adult users as well. So, for example, there is a syllabus hunt where you can make missions to ask about classroom policies and resources on campus. Or there's the text genre lookout. So you can have them maybe go to the library and identify different types of text, poetry, or a newspaper article, or things like that. Essay for writing. For instance, you can have them do they start a scavenger hunt game, and they get points for using the structure appropriate, like writing a correct hook, or finding 3 reasons. And you can even do a vocabulary review with them. So they can either, it could be charades, it could be submitting a photo, it could be explaining. Okay, so these are from the game library. Of course, you can also create your own missions or adapt any of these, such as something that my colleagues and I have tried is having them like mark where they are, where the cafeteria is, or where the bookstore is. You can also have, we've also asked them to go to the activities office and identify like the next upcoming event. Other things that we tried is maybe they would have to ask someone like what their favorite restaurant is and type in the answer. Okay. As well as things like singing. They can take a short video clip of singing their favorite line from a song that they like and practiced. So there are really countless ways to use it. The great thing about Goose Chase is how flexible and adaptable it is. You can make it, like I said, like you can change the mission as you please. You can change the time limit from, for up to a week or more, depending on what you would like to do with your class. It could also be for various audiences, not only for students. Like I mentioned, we've used it also with our faculty members. So any kind of team building or concept reviewing task or purpose would be suitable for it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. This PowerPoint is also on the mobile app for you to download if you don't have a physical copy.
So any questions for Judy? Yeah.
So the students actually have the app on one of their shared device as well?
Right, right. And it's really easy to register. And they just find the name of the game, and then they're in.
You get a code like with Kahoot or something that they have to put in to hook to your scavenger hunt?
It's just a name. So they type in the name of it, but it could be a really short name for it,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Yes.
Follow-up, doesn't that mean that you have to, you're going to come, when you create the name, you're going to find a lot of people with having the same game name?
Right. So, I mean, of course, that the name that you chose is already, I mean, it won't be entered unless it's actually
unique.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes me think that there's going to have to be longer names because there's so many probably choosing the same names.
Right. I don't know. I haven't had any problems with it,
Okay.
but then I think it also matters like how many live games there are at the same time.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Well, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and I'd like to thank these talented educators and presenters. That's probably the best presentation I've been to, and thank you all for coming. Is there a question? A question? Yes? Okay, hold on just a second. We got... okay, well, we have somebody, James, who I just love working with, and he's going to show you an app that...
No, the app that actually allows this to happen.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is the app that allows us to be able to share their digital devices.
The number behind the QR code at the very bottom of it. At the very bottom of that sheet, behind the QR code, it shows you, it talks about air swirls and reflector. And what this is, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, all day long you've been watching people see, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, is that better? Okay. All day long you've been seeing different people use the reflector app to actually share their different apps. For example, I guess the first app we saw was the Heads Up, right? Or did we not see that? right? For example, there's another app called Charades that does the same thing. For those of you who are looking for that, where you can actually add, and I thought for fun I'd show you. This basically, what these apps do is they allow you to show what's going on, and then, of course, with Charades, you can make your own custom. So I made a custom, and we can play it right now if you wanted to, but basically, I'd place it on my forehead, and it would have the vocabulary that we set up today. Like, for example, reflector. That's the app that I'm using right now to reflect this device. I got it right. Okay. Who can tell me what that is? What is it, though? And so when kids are playing these games, they circumlocute. They can't say the word. Does that make sense? And so since you said Snapchat, we lose. Okay. What is that? Yeah. Right?
Vance says video.
What does it do? Video producer.
Creation.
Okay.
Pairs.
Pairs up people for what? Language learning.
Practice.
These are all the different apps we saw today. What is this?
Riddles.
Okay, and so you can see how this works, but basically the Reflector app is the one I wanted to show you, which is what I'm using here. Basically, as long as the smart device, whether it's an Android device or an Apple device, doesn't matter. It could even be a Chromebook in a classroom. As long as that device and the projector device are on the same Wi-Fi system, you can push from one device to another, and it reflects, it mirrors. And so that was the last app on that page that I wanted to make sure that I commented on. Does that make sense? All right. And so now we're into another game. All right.
So thank you all very much for coming. We're going to have to close because we have another event that's coming up, and we'll see you next year with more mobile apps. Thank you very much for attending.